All right, well, it's not snowing, so that's why I'm back. I have a good attitude about that. I was kind of worried that no one was going to show up, though, because everybody thought it was going to snow. So it's kind of nice to have a Wednesday where there's no snow. We'll see if that holds out. And so I don't know what did Ivan talk about last week? Does anyone remember? He probably did a great job, I'm sure, but thank you. Thank you for filling in for me. I greatly appreciate it. We're going to continue on with our attitude talk, and this week talk about the merciful, and start out with reading that one. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. Matthew 5, verse 7. So the question always becomes, what does it mean to be merciful? And when I ask that question, obviously I'm going to look to the dictionary to give me some guidance on this. And first definition, treating people with kindness and forgiveness, not cruel or harsh, having or showing mercy. Second one, giving relief from suffering. And then the third one, having or showing mercy or compassion. So it definitely has to do with how we react to people and how we react when situations aren't the way we desire them to be. The cartoon up here, can you read that, Frank? Okay. So that kind of explains it, right? Is we want mercy, but a lot of times are we willing to give mercy, and we want mercy because we've done something wrong, or we haven't done what we needed to do specifically in this case, right? It's really easy to ask for mercy, but if we don't do what we're supposed to do, it's kind of falls back on us. But I think a lot of times it's really hard to show mercy to other people, because I think our expectation levels are frankly really high, and so This kind of gets me back to my childhood, but anyone who's seen Karate Kid knows who this is, right? And the whole Cobra Kai dojo was all about what? No mercy, right? Sweep the leg, right? That kind of stuff. But is that who we want to be? Is that where we want to take our lives, right? Do we want to be this guy? Although I've seen recently in commercials, he's changed his tune now that who's he advertising for? He's become a nice guy. I know that. What's that? Yeah, I can't remember. I think it's like it's insurance or something. No, I don't know. But either way, he's found his softer side, so he's more merciful these days. But the key being is having compassion on the unfortunate. And let's look at Matthew 15, verse 22. And behold, a Canaanite woman from the region came out and was crying, "Have mercy on me, O Lord, Son of David. My daughter is severely oppressed by a demon." And then Matthew 17, verse 15, said the Lord, "Have mercy on my son, for he has seizures, and he suffers terribly. For often he falls into the fire, and often into the water." And so we see from these verses, what? What's that? People want mercy, right? Right? We really want to see that there's going to be mercy when we're struggling. We want that compassion, and we want people to show it to us, and in many instances, willing to ask for it. It can also be, so that's kind of one, having compassion on the unfortunate, and we see the biblical examples there. But it can also be sparing punishment for one who deserves it. And so 1 Peter 2, verses 9 and 10. But you are a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a people for his own possession, that you may proclaim the excellencies of him who called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. Once you were not a people, but now you are God's people. Once you had not received mercy, but now you have received mercy. Do we deserve it? No. But that's also a definition of mercy. And, Abraham Lincoln's quote here, "I have always found that mercy bears richer fruit than strict justice. What do you think he means by that quote? Yes. I believe. Yeah, I believe you are correct. But specifically, like dealing in being merciful can really affect someone, right? When we think of justice, what do we think of? Yeah, iron fist, right? We're gonna deal out the punishment, and that's gonna teach them. But what do we realize in that process? Does it really work? Yeah. I mean, there's applications, right? Don't get me wrong, that sometimes punishment is necessary, but punishment alone doesn't necessarily solve all the problem. Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the question is, we kind of laid out two different definitions. Which definition is it? Is it having compassion on the unfortunate? Or is it sparing punishment for one who deserves it? Which one? And yes, you are correct. It's both, right? And I like this cartoon. This is probably too small for you in the back to read, but the gentleman is up there with an overhead projector. For you all should remember that, right? There's no young ones in here, but he's diagramming what happened with his son, and states at the bottom. Eventually, Billy came to dread his father's lectures over all other forms of punishment, and I think that's definitely true, right? You know, that can be a pretty harsh punishment, especially when you're diagramming the physics of how the ball broke the window. But we want that mercy, right? When you were a kid and you did something wrong, did it matter to you if your parents showed some mercy? Were you hoping that they would show you mercy? Ivan, when you skipped school, did Oh, I've heard stories. But looking up Matthew 6, verse 12, and then someone else, if someone would look up Matthew 9, verse 13, we'll get to those in a second. The quote here from E.H. Chapin: "The unmerciful man is most certainly an unblessed man. His sympathies are all dried up. He is afflicted with a chronic jaundice and lives timidly and darkly in a little narrow rat hole of distrust. Sorry. But that kind of sums it up, right? If we aren't willing to show mercy, what are we really becoming? We're becoming harsh. We're becoming angry. We're becoming what we don't want to be, and definitely what God doesn't want us to be. So Matthew 6, verse 12. Someone willing to read that one for me? Mark. Yeah, pretty simple verse. We've all heard it before, right? Is this an example of mercy? I don't see much. Can you guys hear me? Why so? Yes. Yes. Yeah. And then Matthew 9, verse 13. Does someone want to read that one for me? PJ? Melody, I'll get you the next one. Yeah, so here he's instructing the Pharisees, but on what? On what? I desire compassion, is what mine says, and not sacrifice. What does that mean? Everybody's got their hand up. Tim, I saw yours first. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah, great. Frank? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and specifically here, right, the Pharisees were pretty harsh, right? As Tim alluded to, they wanted you to follow the letter of the law, even though they didn't necessarily do it all correctly themselves. They didn't really care, aside from this is a law, and you're going to do it. Sam. Yes. Yep. Exactly. No, that's a great point, and it being weightier, the things that we do project outward. I think that's a great point, Sam. Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. To be Exactly. You are correct.
We need to be a little bit understanding as we go forward of where the mercy that we're offering comes from. Does it come from us, or does it come, or are we taking it on ourselves to offer God's mercy to someone else?
Yeah. No, that's a great point. And yeah, we're not offering mercy from God, right? That's God's. We own what we own. Yes.
I was just thinking back on the idea of, mercy and better than sacrifice. That if we, as Isaac talked about, as we turn and with the proper intentions and attitude, we're less likely to commit the sin in the first place.
Yes.
And then we don't need to offer the sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
As they did in the Old Testament say. If we don't do it in the first place, it's a little bit easier, and that's what God wanted. God wanted the people to turn. He didn't want them to just offer their sacrifices for their sins. He wanted them to change and not do it in the first place.
Yeah. Oh, great points, and I appreciate everybody's comments there. Let's look at 1 Thessalonians 5, verses 9 and 10. If someone would be willing to read those verses for me. 1 Thessalonians 5, verses 9 and 10. Melody, sorry, I forgot about that. Yes. Yeah, and so getting onto mercy here, he spares us his wrath and offers us salvation, right? It's mercy. Mercy. Titus 2, verse 11 here. For the grace of God has appeared that offers salvation to all people. It's mercy. God shows us great mercy, right? He's merciful. Yes. No. Exactly.
But it could be, but anyway, there's a lot of things about it. But let's just take money. If somebody owes you $100 and you show mercy on, are you showing mercy on them if you accept $50?
You're asking me that question? I'm teaching the class. I get to ask.
I don't mean to be.
Yeah.
But I mean, like I say, I don't think necessarily we have to go all the way on mercy. I mean, now I know we want God to go all the
Oh,
way
yeah.
on mercy on us. But like I'm using money because I think maybe
Yeah.
it's
It's easier to discern.
I don't think necessarily we have to go all the way on everything to show mercy.
Yeah. Well, I think you're right in terms of can we be merciful and not give it completely. So if it's $100 and we forgive 50 of that, yes, is that being merciful? Yeah, because you could have demanded the whole thing. There is mercy involved in there, right? And obviously it depends on the situation. But I think you make a valid point there that the
You can't be half-mad.
no.
You can't be merciful and only be half-mad.
Yeah. But we do expect God to be merciful to us, right? Yeah, 100%. Not just, I mean, we want him to forgive everything and forget everything and just say, yeah, it's all forgotten. That's what we're after, and that's the mercy that God offers. Sometimes we don't offer the complete, but we don't always need to either.
But if we keep, if somebody keeps borrowing money from us and we keep forgiving them and forgiving them, they're going to keep borrowing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes people take God in the same way.
Yeah.
He forgave you once, so he'll forgive you again and again and again.
Oh, I agree. Definitely.
I know you're willing to hurt.
No, I think that's a great point, and definitely something that yeah, can we just come to expect that God is going to be merciful, and we're going to continue down that same road that we've been going, just expecting God's mercy. I think we're a slippery slope when we do that. Yes.
I'm gonna throw a wrench in here. Then God, how many times do we forgive our brother?
Yeah, I'm getting there. Ron.
both cases, the person who has the opportunity to show mercy is the one who can set the conditions to obtain that mercy. And certainly God does that. He doesn't just grant mercy
Mm-hmm.
without any condition whatsoever. There are things that we need to do in order to gain that mercy.
Yeah, you are correct. And it is conditional in many aspects. And so you're right. Yeah, if I'm going to show mercy and I want to set the requirements, you can't expect me to be, well, that's not enough mercy for me, right? I need more. But we try to do that with God. We try to say, well, yeah, God, I want your mercy, but here's where I'm willing to meet you. That doesn't work, does it? Definitely not. And so let's look at God's mercy for a second here. Deuteronomy 30, verse 3. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes, he does. But there are stipulations associated with that, right? I mean, how we behave, how we move forward, our response to God and to God's word. And so, obviously there is a condition upon that. And I don't want to give this opinion, or I guess impression, that the mercy is just all encompassing from a standpoint of, yes, God's mercy covers us, but we have to be faithful, right? I mean, we can't continue to disobey him, because we see prime examples throughout the Bible where, yeah, God's merciful, except when you disobey him, right? And keeping that in mind, is he willing to forgive? Yes. But we can't head down that road. And when we've been instructed to do so, and when we've repented, if we continue, that high-handed sin, I think, really sets us up for extreme failure. Moving on, then, God's mercy. Deuteronomy 30, verse 3. Then the Lord your God will restore you from captivity and have compassion on you, and will gather you again from all peoples where the Lord your God has scattered you. God's mercy, he has compassion, right? We've talked about that throughout already. Psalm 28, verse 6. Blessed be the Lord, because he has heard the voice of my supplication. Right? He has mercy because he hears. He knows when we're struggling. He hears our cries when things aren't going well. Psalms 86, verse 15. But you, O Lord, are a God merciful and gracious, slow to anger, and abundant in loving kindness and truth, merciful and gracious. And then Romans 11, verse 30. For just as you were once, For just as you once were disobedient, make sure I'm in the right line. I'm skipping lines here. Disobedient to God, but now have been shown mercy because of their disobedience. But we receive his mercy. So God is merciful. God shows us exactly what mercy is. Right? It's not man who defines what mercy is. God shows us. So the question then goes to whom did Jesus show mercy? Is there a specific trait that gets this mercy? Matthew 9, verse 36. One example of many, obviously. Seeing the people, he felt compassion for them because they were distressed and dispirited like sheep without a shepherd. So who does he feel compassion for? The sheep, right? His church. Because why? He doesn't want them to be distressed. What about Matthew 14, verse 14? When he went ashore, he saw a large crowd and felt compassion for them and healed their sick. So he felt compassion in that situation, right? Compassion because of the sick, because of the crowd, potentially, right? Matthew 15:32. And Jesus called his disciples to him and said, I feel compassion for the people because they have remained with me now 3 days and have nothing to eat. And I do not want to send them away hungry, for they might faint on the way. Once again, compassion, because they're in a situation where they're being faithful to him, right? They're following him. They've been there, but now they're hungry and they have nothing to eat. And then Matthew 20, verse 34. Moved with compassion, Jesus touched their eyes, and immediately they regained their sight and followed him. But what's the one thing that kind of ties this all in? Do you see a constant theme there? And those that Jesus showed compassion for? They had a need, right? And that need fundamentally is him, right? Exactly. It's people that are focused intently on God, right? Following God. Now, does he have compassion on others? Certainly, but it's the people that called out to him, the people that were focused on him, the people that believed in him. And as the Peanuts cartoons talks about here, if you don't get your homework in, right, you want your teacher to be merciful. But it's back to that point of, right, do we have focus on the right things, or are we just expecting mercy to carry us through our lives, doing whatever and whenever we want? So, looking at this from this standpoint, so whom did he show it to? To anyone and everyone, but like I said, those who specifically were interested and believed in what he was doing. He displayed a loving and caring attitude, obviously, and I think it's important to understand mercy as part of Jesus is he hurt when they hurt. Do we feel that same type of compassion for people? Right? Or do we specifically show mercy to a specific class of people or a specific type of person or whatever? That's not what Jesus did. Mercy was for all that sought it. And that's true compassion. So, in terms of being merciful, what are we to do? Give freely. Yes? Mm-hmm.
What's their job? Their job is to instruct me. Mine is to learn.
Exactly.
Okay, if we take that same principle as a Christian, my responsibility is to learn what Christ wants me to do and do it.
You nailed it.
Have mercy without responsibility. If it's just blanket, why bother?
Yeah.
That's like Paul, when he was talking, shall we continue in sin that may grace abound? That doesn't work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think you've hit it in terms of if we're striving for something and we haven't necessarily obtained it fully, there's mercy, right? We're striving. We're trying to move it forward. If we're not doing our homework because we just don't want to do it, should we expect mercy? Right? And likewise within the church, if we're striving, if we're challenging ourselves, if we're trying to do better, we're going to mess up. We know that. We're going to fall short. We're going to do stuff that we hadn't intended to do. That's where there will be mercy. But if we choose the opposite of that, to just say, yeah, I'm not going to do a thing, and then hope at the end there will be mercy, are we barking up the wrong tree? This quote here, if you're helping someone and expecting something in return, you're doing business, not kindness. And I think that describes kind of where we're at with mercy in terms of, what are we to do to be merciful? I mean, I'm running out of time in a hurry, but James 1 verse 27, to give with no hope of receiving. Is that how we do it? When we give something, do we expect something in return? Yes? Yeah. Exactly, right? We're always looking for that notoriety. And not saying that's everyone, but man in general, right, is looking for something out of it. Not giving just to give. But what does God do? Does he expect anything in return? Specifically, he expects our devotion to him, but he doesn't expect payment, does he? And you might say that payment is, his payment is us obeying. But why does God give us mercy? Because he wants us, right, to focus on him, to understand how important he is in our lives and why we need to be faithful to him. Yes.
So many times though, we do say we are nice to a person and we, treat them in all kinds of ways that are kind and so forth. And that's all right. But then they cross us once.
Mm-hmm.
And then we say, oh, good things I did. So we are doing them at the time expecting nothing. But then when there comes a time we don't get that kindness back, then we become upset.
That's a very astute point, and I think you're right in a lot of instances, because it's fine when everything's good, right? We'll give, we don't expect anything in return, but oh wait, now something happened and you did something mean to me or wrong to me. Look at what I did in the past. How could you do that? And it changes the tone of how we are dispensing mercy in that situation. Sam. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Exactly. It is. It's constant and definitely an important aspect. You bring up a great point that it's not just I'm going to do it once and move on. We need to be merciful consistently in our lives, no matter what the situation. We don't know what people are going through. We need to be merciful, right? When someone wrongs us in whatever manner, do we take that approach? Do we really appreciate who they are? And I probably should read this, but I guess let's read Matthew 25, 31 through 46. Would someone be willing to read that? PJ? "25, 31 through 46. Okay, Mark. Okay, you can stop there. But that gets the point across is how much have we done? How much have we done for the least? How much have we shown mercy to those who are less fortunate than ourselves? Do we show mercy? Are we merciful? Are we displaying that attitude, or do we hold grudges? What does it get us if we do? Am I not merciful? Right? Sounds like this quote is from a movie, but it's a Roman Caesar, right? Am I not merciful? Right? I'm not going to kill you today. But how does holding grudges get us what we want? What does it do to us? Mark, did I see your hand? Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Matthew 6, verse 15. But if you do not forgive others, then your Father will not forgive your transgressions. And so I think the key here and the tie I want to make here is forgiveness equals mercy. Right? If we're forgiving, that's merciful, right? And other verses that coincide with that. And to where Jennifer was here earlier, Matthew 18, 21 and 22. Specifically verse 22. I do not say to you up to 7 times, but up to 70 times 7, right? And the cartoon here is basically stating that, and then the guy in the background saying, great, not only do I have to forgive my brother now, I have to do math. Does that describe us? Is that how we approach things? How often shall we forgive? How often shall we show mercy? Is it something we count up? Is it something that we tabulate? I forgave Joe however many times, right? And then at the end, he's saying, oh, only 3 more times, and I'm done with Joe. if that's our attitude, are we merciful? What do we want to be? Yes. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Exactly. We truly have to show mercy. We have to forgive. That's part of the process. And I know the alarm rang, but is this the kind of joy we're showing? Is that who we are? Merciful or blessed, right? In the sense that they know God's joy. But what kind of joy are we presenting out there? And this one's too small to read right now, but finally, just to end it, right? The Midvale School for the Gifted, pull, and he's pushing, right? But I just wanted to end with this because sometimes that's how mercy can feel, right? I mean, we're pushing against the tide here, but we keep going. We keep striving. And this might describe how this lesson went tonight. Maybe it was a struggle. But I appreciate your participation and look forward to next week. Thank you.